It's been 1 year. 1 year since 5 lives were senselessly lost. 1 year of wrestling with the unanswered question of why.
There is a piece of me that was lost that night.
Tonight, KKTV takes a look back at the moments that still haunt everyone, from victims to first responders.
I jumped in the car before I called Mayor Southers because I wanted to have a better understanding for what was going on before I woke him up.
How heroes saved lives.
I stopped really thinking and just started acting on instinct.
And the vision that's now forming for new hope at a popular nightclub.
This incident helped us send the message that we are a resilient and broad-minded community.
As Colorado Springs remains united 1 year later. On November 19th, 2022, this site became the scene of a horrific attack. 5 lives taken, many more lives changed forever. In all of the horrific details surrounding the shooting here, there are stories of courage. 2 people who fought back, putting it all on the line to save the lives of those around them. Morning anchor Erica Ferrando has their story, including the moments that made a lasting imprint on the lives of the 2 men who we now call heroes.
These are some of the final moments of bliss inside Club Q. Army veteran Richard Fierro with his wife, daughter, and her long-term boyfriend, Raymond Green Vance.
Boyfriend of 6 years, so it wasn't, like the boyfriend she just met.
They went to see a friend perform.
I was really proud of him. We had a great time that night until it just kind of went south.
It went south on a night Thomas James originally planned to stay in.
I just want to stay in and sleep, so I flipped a coin for it.
James, a Navy information technician who moved to Colorado Springs in 2021, found a second home inside Club Q.
Safe and loving place. That my found family was there.
He was on the back patio when the sounds from inside changed.
At first, I had thought it was just a part of the beat, and then the scream started.
What happened next, James calls instinct.
My mind immediately turned to that I needed to buy them some time. So I walked back in and confronted the shooter.
Now face to face, James grabs the hot metal of the gun's barrel.
After that, I was shot. I was shot in the chest. I guess a mix of the adrenaline and everything kept me going because I was able to continue fighting.
Wounded, he managed to scream for help.
Rich Fierro came in and saved my life.
The rifle never left more than 2 feet away from this guy's arm. And Thomas kept pushing it away from him. I'm throwing his magazines that he keeps grabbing for, and we were fighting with him for 6 minutes.
They held the shooter, stopping a horrific situation from getting worse. Fierro then learning Ray, his daughter's beloved boyfriend, didn't make it out alive.
Ray, to us, was part of our family.
Over the last year, both heroes have received honors for doing what to them came natural. Fierro awarded by the Congressional Medal of Honor Society, and James awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal, the highest non-combat decoration the Navy can award. Both heroes humbly don't call themselves so.
I don't see it as a heroic move. I was capable. I wasn't shot. I was capable of doing something, so I did something. Thomas was capable of doing something, so he did something.
Their actions, they hope, inspire unity.
Separately, we can easily get blown away by a storm, but together we can weather anything. And I want people to consider that and consider reaching out to their friends who are hurting.
James spent a week in the hospital from his physical wounds, gunshot through the chest and collapsed lung, mental wounds, leaving even deeper scars.
Initially, I did not handle things well. I took to drinking, I took to just anything to stay out of my head. So then I found proper therapy, good medication, good support group, and I am improving.
Now 1 year later.
It's a journey, not a destination.
It feels like yesterday's.
Never forgetting.
I don't like to look at this as marking a moment of terror.
The moment these men fought back.
It's about celebrating the lives of the 5 we lost.
Overcoming hate. I'm Erica Ferrando.
Those men also give credit to a trans woman who they say stomped on the shooter's face in heels while they held him down. While that third person, that hero, has not publicly shared their side of the story, Fierro and James did want to acknowledge how that helped them hold down the shooter until police arrived. Over the past year, we have heard stories, many stories of survival. People who were in the club when the shots rang out and lost friends and loved ones. Tonight, one survivor who lost 2 friends in the attack sits down to speak with 11 News reporter Brian Sherrod about their mutual connection with the victims who were lost.
Even though I'm standing here with you today, there is a piece of me that was lost that night.
John tells me 1 year later, he still relives these moments all the time. John was there the night of Club Q, celebrating the Transgender Day of Remembrance.
I walked up to the door, I made eye contact with the active shooter. He was standing on the other end of the bar. And at that particular point in time, he proceeded to pull the trigger and just released a round of fire throughout the entire bar.
John tells me he thought this was his final moment.
At that moment, I found a spot to hide in the outside patio area and proceeded to tell my friends, my good friends, goodbye via text message and waited there. Shortly after
This is when John found out our good friend Derek was in trouble.
I heard one of my friends or coworkers that assisted me here, Svetlana, tell me that, or start screaming Derek's name. At that point, I knew Derek was in trouble, and I peered. I popped my head out, and I saw Derek there.
Later that morning, we both received the call that Derek was one of the 5 that was killed.
And at that moment, I got to Derek, and unfortunately, he passed away shortly after that.
Along with Derek, Daniel, Ashley, Kelly, and Raymond lost their lives that night. Daniel and Derek are friends John and I shared mutually. They're what we call a staple of the Club Q community.
Derek was a good friend of mine. He was sassy. He would tell you how it is. He enjoyed life, and he could insult you without you knowing he was insulting you, but yet in some weird way that insult would be the best life advice that you had ever received in your entire life. Daniel was like the sweetheart. He was the charmer. He would make you feel warm and welcome and offset that sassiness that Derek brought to the table. The two worked so well together, and they really did create an environment that people wanted to be at.
Now, John is an advocate for gay rights and the right to feel protected in safe spaces. John says you should be able to love who you want without the fear of rejection or retaliation. For KKTV 11 News, I'm Brian Sherrod.
Some additional heroes of Club Q include the firefighters, police officers, and medics who responded to this scene within minutes of the shooting. But even those heroes struggle with their mental health because of what happened here that night. 11 News anchor Kasha Carriage spoke with 2 responding firefighters who are remembering and reflecting on this tragedy.
It was what firefighters described as a normal Saturday night in November that turned very wrong very quickly. And while firefighters' physical training kicks in on the scene, their mental training can take some time to adjust.
It was a very cold night. I do remember that. I remember as the event was coming in, there was a lot of chatter coming up on the radio. Both of us got the feeling that this was something real, just the way it was dispatched and the manner it was dispatched.
Jeremiah on the left took over triage, while Brian on the right was in charge of transport and incident command support.
As those incidents are very chaotic in the beginning,
we try and calm the chaos in our minds and within the scene, and that was difficult. That was difficult to do, and I don't think that we actually were able to calm the chaos.
But among the chaos, Colorado Springs emergency crews were able to get the victims to the hospital within an hour. But firefighters oftentimes can't leave their emotions on scene.
For me, it was exhausting, and not in a physical sense, in an emotional sense. It really takes a lot out of you, realizing now that you're winding down, you're realizing what really just happened there.
The mental side of it is, I don't know that you can prepare for things like this.
For the last 10 years, the Colorado Springs Fire Department has a peer support program to help members of the department with their mental health after seeing and experiencing tragic scenes.
We heal best initially after the incident together as a crew.
Dealing with it over the last year has been kind of it's very personal, it's very individual, how you deal with tragedy and loss.
In the last year, not just as a firefighter and not even just as a Coloradan, but as a human, how do you think this has changed you?
I never used to think twice about going into larger crowds of people or being with crowds of people, but now, unfortunately, that's something that I think about. Does it change what I do? Probably not, but it's become more top of mind to me.
I think that has made me realize that this is a fact of life in our society, a fact of life in our city. Our state seems to have a propensity for mass violence, and it's a realization that this will not be the last one that we see in our careers.
Welcome back to 11 News coverage of the Club Q shooting 1 year later. While this tragedy sent shockwaves through the Colorado Springs community, city leaders knew they had to stand together in the minutes and days after it happened. 11 News anchor Grace Kramer spoke with John Suthers, the mayor at the time of the shooting, and current mayor Yemi Mobolade about leading a community through darkness.
I came out here after the scene had been cleared.
It was a brisk November morning when former Colorado Springs Mayor John Suthers met me at Club Q, just a week before the 1 year anniversary of the tragedy.
I got a phone call about 2 o'clock in the morning from Police Chief Vasquez, and he said, sorry to tell you we have another mass shooting in Colorado Springs.
Suthers was no stranger to mass tragedy.
In the first Thanksgiving weekend after I became mayor in 2015 was the Planned Parenthood shooting, and this was essentially the last Thanksgiving week of being mayor, and we had these two tragedies bookending my tenure as mayor, and I just hoped that we would never see that again, and unfortunately we did.
As he recounted that November day, he expressed his gratitude for the first responders, the district attorney's office, and law enforcement who made the response and later criminal case possible.
You can't reverse the situation. You're not going to bring people back to life, anything like that. You have to deal with the circumstances you've got and do everything you can to reach out to the victims, reach out to the community, and make them as resilient as possible moving forward.
Now Mayor Yemi Mobolade says this tragedy shaped his goals for the city and that we need to learn from the past.
As a city, we're consistently learning from past stories, past events, and we're continually getting better in terms of how we deal with all kinds of tragedies.
In Colorado Springs, Grace Kramer, KKTV 11 News.
Colorado Springs Police Chief Adrian Vasquez says he can still recall the night of the shooting here, and that what happened has had a deep impact not just on the community, but his department as well. 11 News digital anchor Lauren Watson has that part of the story tonight.
We're always training, and we're always going to respond with the best intention and what we have available for us. We're going to make this the safest city that we possibly can.
In a one-on-one interview with 11 News, Vasquez said he was proud of the response of the city's officers the night of November 19th.
You see those first officers arrive on scene and see how quickly they moved into the building, and if you can think of the chaos of that, right? You have multiple injured people, you have a nightclub setting, and you're trying to determine, is there just one shooter, who is that shooter, and you know, maybe there's more than one.
And although the person responsible will be in prison for the rest of their life and the police work aspect of the response is now over, Vasquez says the department's support for the victims will always be there.
Emotionally, we are here for them. You know, we've stood with the victims and their families from day one. I still think about them, and I still want the best for them, and I'm hoping that the healing is going well.
Lauren Watson, KKTV 11 News.
We've talked about the emotional impact of the tragedy at Club Q on city leaders, first responders, and the victims. But for young adults who identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community, what happened here also continues to impact them a year later. 11 News reporter Melissa Henry has that story.
all these beautiful little messages after the shooting.
Oh wow, really? So these are all as a result of that?
Yes.
Keely Griego works for Inside Out Youth Services. That's the only LGBTQ+ organization in Colorado Springs focused on young adults.
It's just that sense of community and that sense of safety and of just being themselves and not having to worry about violence or discrimination that they do sometimes outside of these walls.
About 300 13 to 24-year-olds come into this space every year. 1/3 of them are homeless. But for 5 months after the Club Q tragedy, this space was closed when the organization became inundated with online threats.
And we know those ideas exist for sure, but when it's directed at what we do, which is such important work.
Griego says many were grieving, including herself.
Some of our staff knew some of the victims, myself included. I used to go to Club Q with my partner. So it was just...
The organization reopened this March with changes. For the first time in its 33-year history, an armed security guard now protects Inside Out Youth Services. The organization used to have 1 free counselor, but now has 2 because demand has been so high since the shooting.
I think that we've done a lot of healing since then. We've been able to gather as a community and share beautiful moments together and moments where we can just be proud.
For KKTV 11 News, I'm Melissa Henry.
For more information on Inside Out Youth Services, look for their contact information on our website at kktv.com. Some 11 News crews were first at the scene of the shooting that night. And tonight, as we reflect on the past year, we want to highlight the impact events like this one have on our own journalists. 11 News reporters Brian Sherrod and Aaron Vitito share their side of the story.
When I woke up at 12:30 that morning, it's because my friend Jeremy from Denver called me, and he called my phone, and I was wondering why he was calling me so late.
Was trying to stay in news mode, but also make sure everyone was okay. So I'm checking social media, I'm checking, okay, who's been active lately, who's not been active, who would be at Club Q. So I'm like trying to reach out to everyone that I know, or I don't know where they're at.
And when I got here, I've never seen, in the 7 years I've been in news, I've never seen so many cops out outside of a place.
And so I'm just like, something happened, I feel like I need to be there. I'm going in. I know I'm not supposed to be working, I know I haven't gone to bed yet, I've been working like 10 hours, but I'm going in, I have to go in. And that's when I came to the press conference, I think like right when they confirmed it was 5 people who were killed.
You know, every station was here, but you just, with the timing, it was 2 queer people who had a personal impact, had to cover this story, had to turn off their mindset to be in the news mode, which is not easy. I mean, there are some hard stories, but never one like this impactful.
My best friend is like, told me before the importance of queer people telling queer stories. And I'm thinking this is gonna be a deeply traumatic thing for anyone in the LGBTQ community watching it. So I want them to see themselves represented in this and just know that the people telling the story are impacted and that they care about it.
And Kasha, I can say as a queer man myself, I will be on top of this, we will be on top of this and stand in solidarity with those involved.
I think that's the best way I was able to truly understand what was going on, but I don't think I ever actually turned off the news mindset.
Brian, 2 of the people killed in this shooting were your friends, and I know you spoke with people who knew both of them.
I always share this funny story. And I'll say it on camera too. I actually met Derek my first week here, and I came to Club Q.
We'll be right back with a look at the new hope taking shape for Club Q as Colorado Springs United 1 year later continues. Seven months after the attack here at Club Q, thousands of people in Colorado Springs came together to celebrate Pikes Peak Pride. With emotions still raw, those who participated say they saw an outpouring of love and a community united. Morning Anchor Matt Kroschel takes a look at how the Club Q tragedy changed the spirit of pride in the Colorado Springs community.
Unite with pride, that's our theme.
Jessica Laney knew planning the Pikes Peak Pride in the wake of Club Q was going to be different. It was going to be the first time this community would gather by the thousands to reflect and honor.
It was definitely different. One, we had a lot more people be able to come out and show a lot more support for the Pride community here in Colorado Springs.
But Laney, who is president at Pikes Peak Pride, was not prepared for this.
The support that we had was tremendous. We had almost 25,000 people show up this year, which is almost 10,000 people more than we had previous years. We want to continue to grow it, and we are so happy for the community for the support that they have provided. It was an amazing year for us.
That parade saw a Club Q hero leading the way.
We had Rich as the Grand Marshal, and then we also had Thomas in the event as well. And there was a lot of emotion surrounding the event itself and trying to bring everyone together. There were a lot of tears, but also kind of happiness and joy in celebrating those that had been lost and that were still with us.
And we all came together, regardless of whether we agree about things. We just came together to support each other and heal. And that's what's important, and that's what this community is about healing.
Our 11 News family, a proud part of Pride, our LGBTQ+ family members and allies, walking alongside you, united. And that's something we won't stop doing either.
We're always going to remember. We're never going to forget those that we've lost and try and honor them as best as possible.
And as the planning begins for the next Pride, special attention being paid to how Club Q survivors and victims will continue to be a part of Pride.
We are all going to come together and unite with Pride.
Moving forward while remembering. I'm Matt Kroschel.
We're also taking a look at what's next for Club Q. This fall, the owners announced plans to move out of their original location. They plan on reopening as The Q at the Satellite Hotel in Southeast Colorado Springs. The club's vice president, Michael Anderson, tells us they're planning on opening this winter, and they hope to have the new location up and running by New Year's Eve. Anderson says they're working on plans to build a permanent memorial at this site. And while there may be plans in the future to do something with the building itself, he says for now, it'll be a solemn place for people to pause and reflect. We thank you for joining us this evening as we look back at an event that united Colorado Springs. And for all of us at 11 News, have a good night.